What up, everybody? Welcome to the Smoking Tire Podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by Off the Record. We love Off the Record. I just referred to my buddy to Off the Record who got a huge ticket, and that's what we do, right? Off the Record is a company that sets you up with a qualified attorney in the event you get a ticket you don't want to deal with, which, let's be honest, is all tickets, right? Only suckers plead guilty to tickets. Smart people get Off the Record. They go to offtherecord.com/TST or they use code TSTPOD on the Off the Record app. That'll get them 10% off all legal services at Off the Record. Off the Record's not a lawyer. What they do is they set you up with a qualified attorney that can help fight your ticket in whatever jurisdiction you got that ticket in. Right? You don't have to go to court. You don't have to meet with the prosecutor. They handle all that. And if they can't get the points off your record, you don't pay. That is the jam, and I am not saying it twice. So go to offtherecord.com/TST or use code TSTPOD, TSTPOD, on the Off the Record app, and be ready if you get pulled over. Have a defense. Don't plead guilty. Get Off the Record. We love them, and you will too. What up, everybody? Welcome to the Smoking Tire Podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by Off the Record. We love Off the Record. I just referred to my buddy to Off the Record who got a huge ticket, and that's what we do, right? Off the Record is a company that sets you up with a qualified attorney in the event you get a ticket you don't want to deal with, which, let's be honest, is all tickets, right? Only suckers plead guilty to tickets. Smart people get Off the Record. They go to offtherecord.com/TST or they use code TSTPOD on the Off the Record app. That'll get them 10% off all legal services at Off the Record. Off the Record's not a lawyer. What they do is they set you up with a qualified attorney that can help fight your ticket in whatever jurisdiction you got that ticket in. Right? You don't have to go to court. You don't have to meet with the prosecutor. They handle all that. And if they can't get the points off your record, you don't pay. That is the jam, and I am not saying it twice. So go to offtherecord.com/TST or use code TSTPOD, TSTPOD, on the Off the Record app, and be ready if you get pulled over. Have a defense. Don't plead guilty. Get Off the Record. We love them, and you will too. All right, folks, today it's a cruise show. Zach is back in the studio, and we're talking about what it was like to go for a mob up the hill in the T.50. Also, we are reviewing the Mercedes C63, and we are utterly blown away by the Ford Mach-E Rally. I may just have to buy one. Plus, we've got some unbelievably good questions from our TST patrons over at patreon.com/the Smoking Tire Podcast. It's a cruise show. Let's do it. Huh?
We are here.
Yeah.
We are live in living color.
Hello. What's happening? Did you shower?
Yes.
I'm jealous. I feel very, I'm not, I realize that
you're still dusty, though.
I'm very dirty right now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not, it's not a comparison compared to how dirty you are, but I am also dirty.
Yeah.
We spent the morning up on the mountain with the Mach-E Rally, which I do not have a picture of on my Instagram except as like a background shot.
I'll draw one.
That's the one. It's yellow. It is yellow. It's grabber yellow. Very, it's a very awesome car, actually. I really am quite stoked on it, honestly. It's a GT, but like a 911 Dakar, it's got a little bit of a lift. Mm-hmm. It's got reprogrammed shocks. It's got some skid plates on it. It's got white wheels. They all have white wheels. It's got like the Focus RS wing on the back.
Yeah, it does.
It's got a bit of a different nose with some lights in there, some aerodynamic flaps underneath that black nose that open and close for cooling. And Holy fucking shnikes, does it have a torque vectoring program going on?
A good one. A real good one. We were in a dirt area, closed course, of course.
Yes.
It was shocking and impressive.
Yeah.
And just so, like, naturally, as soon as you put in an input you'd expect for, like, a Subaru or a drift car or whatever, it was like, oh, yeah, we'll do that.
I think better than a lot of those cars.
It's better than symmetrical all-wheel drive,
definitely
for
better
sure.
than Subaru.
Yeah.
It's definitely better than any mechanically linked all-wheel drive system that I think I maybe have ever driven, because a mechanically linked system, when you just like floor it with the wheel cranked, it pushes forward. It doesn't provide sort of more rotation, and you kind of have to initiate on braking. Whereas this, you can initiate on power.
Yeah, it had just the right amount.
Power.
The front motor would pull to whichever direction, just the right amount.
Yeah.
And then the back would get way more torque and power and get that swing.
Yeah.
I mean, we could pivot really, really tightly. It was awesome.
Yeah, it was amazing how flexible the control of the radiuses of your corners were. You could do a big open sweeper, or you could do a very tight hairpin that normally you might even need like a handbrake for, without a handbrake. Although a handbrake would help.
A handbrake would be great.
I mean, they've now got the electric handbrake from the Mustang.
It's true,
right? They should. That is a missed opportunity from Ford.
That's right. Actually, now that you say it with the name, I don't know.
They could have
I bet they considered it, and they went, "Well, is this the market? Is this what this is?"
Yes, it is.
Yeah, it's
I'm
the
surprised.
marketing.
We got to get JR on the phone. Why didn't
Sure.
JR suggest the hydro handbrake for this one? That would have been. It doesn't need it, but it wouldn't hurt.
Well, and as we said, like, we were hooning around and we thought no one that buys this, almost no one that buys this, is going to do this with it.
No, that's a press car trick.
It's a press car thing. If you live in a snowy climate, though, and you were shopping for EVs, I mean, this might be the enthusiast EV to get. And the ride is amazing, and it's way better. It's much improved over the GT.
Oh, yeah.
It's really, really good. And then when we went into this dirt lot, which was not smooth and had some little, like, crest to it and stuff, it soaked that shit up.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, if you're never going to take it off-road, then it's still good because the ride quality on the street is very, very good. My old Mach-E, the base Mach-E's, the ride was the only real point against with that car. I never felt like I needed the all-wheel drive. I only drove it in rain. I never drove it in snow, but I never felt like it needed the all-wheel drive, and it didn't need any more power. The single motor was totally fine, but the ride was a little bit just sort of cheap. It was like the shocks were cheap. I called it a rental car ride because it was just like a whatever sort of ride. And then the GT, when they put mag ride, I was like, yes, mag ride, body control. And then it was so stiff. It was like, the fuck you doing? Like, what is this?
Yeah.
It's terrible. And it was so bad. It was so stiff that on bumpy roads, the wheels would skip, which would cause the traction control to go completely fucking haywire. And so on the Rally, they've got those same mag ride shocks, slightly taller springs, and really, really great damping that just makes it smooth, like not stiff, just smooth.
Yeah.
And then they relax the traction control system a bit so that you can get the car loose because it's on like meaty all seasons, Michelin cross climates. So like I did I don't know if it'll make it into the video, but I did like an unintentional slide in the canyon. Like I ended up doing a slide that I did not necessarily plan for, but it was easy to control with traction control fully on. And so I never had any traction control issues, like interventions, once with the week. And then when you fully go off and you put it in rally sport mode, then it's like, okay, party time.
Yeah.
Then it really does fucking party time. Like, I didn't get to go to the Mach-E launch at Dirtfish because Hannah was sick and cats were sick. But like, man, I bet those guys had a good time up there.
Yeah. It was because I only saw a couple of clips on Instagram of that press launch, and I think that I saw one sweep return, and I thought, okay, I can't tell what's going on from here. That looks correct, but it could be, sometimes press launches like the turn is perfect for the car to make it look good, or like the Focus RS or the Golf R.
Where they have the little drift
the circle
box.
like wet skid pad type thing, but it's a little bit of, it's not trickery. It's just optimized for the differential.
Yeah.
But this. We went out.
No course.
No course. We're like, oh, I'm just going to go tight over here. I'm going to go around over there. I'm going to transition over here. And it just did all of it.
Yeah, and the transitions were so good. I mean, to go from big open slide sweeper to Titan's transition around Oak Tree, to open it up, then retighten, transition the other way around the dirt mound. I mean, you could just look up, see it, and then your hands and your feet would just follow. Really, really good.
Yeah.
Really, I mean, possibly better even than the Dakar. Like, the Dakar is amazing. But in terms of, like, the predictability of transition response on this might actually be better.
Well, I think what's tough, I never drove the Dakar on dirt, and you did, but it was sand, which is slower to like it reacts.
The video was sand, but I also drove it on like gravel rally stage.
Oh, okay.
I didn't have time to video that, but like it was great. It was great.
So what about the weight difference though? Because this does, it's 4,000 pounds or whatever.
4,900. So it's heavy.
Geez, 5,000 pounds. Hey,
4,900. I think that's right.
Same as the C63
My
AMG.
rear wheel drive was 4,700. I think this is 4,900.
So that means you have to I had to brake a little earlier to get the pendulum to go. But once you step on the throttle, because of instant torque, then it makes the thing feel like it weighs 10 pounds. Yeah,
and the weight is low, so it feels planted. It's not top heavy or like leany. You have a weight?
This one says 4,600, but that might be right. The regular
base.
one. Yeah.
I think mine was 4,680 something, which would make this like 4,900, if I had to guess. Just throw it out there.
The Rally with extended range all-wheel drive, which it is 4,979.
Yeah, okay. So it's heavy, but it's balanced and it's very responsive and it's very fast. Man, if they put the Hyundai fake gears in this one, it would be like the ultimate fucking gym. If I was Ford, I'd put the gears in it and I'd take it to the next level with the handbrake.
Yeah, with the
and then you'd be fucked. Maybe they'll do a RTR or something, but like fucking this thing is like when I was driving on the street, I was like, it's so much more expensive than like the rear wheel drive one. It's got all this shit I don't need. And like I wish I could just get the shocks. But then we started fucking hitting the dirt and I was like, oh, I need this. Like, this is so good.
Yeah, because we have access to a lot of public land here, which has that kind of trail. I mean, you could take that to Jawbone on some of that stuff and have a very good time.
Yeah, and there's chargers in Mojave.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. So you can go to there's a Tesla charger there, so you could get on the Tesla charger and fucking juice it up.
It'd be fun to do a stage rally in this thing.
The question is, how long would it take to charge it off an F-150 power boost? We have to ask Levine about that.
Yeah.
Because then we could do like a BDR, like a proper trip in one of those. It wouldn't be good at like rock crawling or any of that kind of stuff. It has limitations, but fire road, gravel road, snow, hell yeah.
Yeah. This is, if I lived in a snowy climate, I would be buying this EV.
Aces. It might be like too much power for snow.
No, wrong. What?
I don't know. Maybe. I guess if you put Blizzak.
Too much power for snow. We drove a Lucid a few weeks ago, which had 1,200 horsepower, which is too much power for driving.
Yeah, it's
right.
For anything.
So
if you put Blizzaks on it, it would probably be just kick ass.
Riot.
Yeah, you just have to get some different. Look at the dirty one in that photo. When the wheels are like dirt colored. See, look how great the wheels look in that color.
Oh yeah.
The wheels in white are not good.
Wow, that's a green vehicle. I couldn't even you can't even tell except for here
that
because
photo's
it's so muddy.
A dirtfish. That green, by the way, is exceptional. I just saw one in person. The green is great. I would go green, and then I'd have HRE either make me a set of those Type 935 wheels that they've got, or I'd ask them if they could strip these wheels and blast them in bronze. It'd be fire.
I think we can talk about another green subject after we finish on Mach-E. This thing was amazing. Like, they did a great job.
Yeah.
And this is yet another car The ST did it, and I mean Corvette to a degree, but like the level of control that software has over MagRide or a similar system is wild. Like I know that's how they're designed, but the fact that you can, this can feel like the GT, which is bad. It can feel too stiff, or they can tap for a while. And this thing felt like it was on a rally suspension. So soft and supple.
It has different springs too, but still, the level of control. Yeah, the springs are taller and they're softer.
I didn't know they're softer. I knew they were taller, but I didn't know they were
softer.
They're maybe.
How would they not be softer?
I don't know.
I think they have to
Let
be
me
softer.
see. I'll find it.
I don't know if it has. I know they're different springs because it's taller, but.
Well, the shocks can handle it. I'll asterisk myself.
But hot damn, that is a. I like that we are now at the point where manufacturers are finding ways to make EVs fun and succeeding at it.
Yes, correct.
Like, it's one thing if they were trying a bunch of stuff that ended up not being fun or not working, but when it works, it's like this car is like when pickup trucks went from being like the F-150 Lightning and the SRT-10 Ram that were meant for like the drag strip, and then you're like, that's a pickup truck. Why would you want it to do that other thing instead of like Jamal inventing the Raptor? Like lean into that. And so this is like lean into infinitely adjustable torque vectoring, a powertrain that's not mechanically linked, where you can have the torque at the rear adding oversteer, and then you can have the front, tucking the nose for you to make it rotate better.
Yeah.
Like, pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, when they put the work into controlling all that stuff perfectly, I mean, it's magical.
Yeah.
You are right, it is softer springs.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
It
had to be. It feels too soft and compliant, but it's so good.
But that's right. That is correct.
But it is expensive. 20 grand over the one you had.
It's 20 more than it would cost to replace the one I had.
Yeah.
It's 10 more than I paid for the one that I had
fair,
before.
right.
So the prices have come down on these, and so it's just a question of like, do you want this thing, or should you be practical and get a daily driver that fits the actual everyday needs?
Exactly. I think the Ioniq 5N actually fits your life more because you go to the canyons a lot, and whereas like how often are you actually going to go drive in the dirt and mess around?
Not that often.
But now this rides nicer, I think, than the Ioniq does, on the highway.
Well, we're gonna get to drive them back to back. Not me, sorry, because I'm doing the Road and Track Performance Electric Vehicle of the Year in 3 weeks in New York. And Mach-E Rally is one, Ioniq 5N is one. We have a Taycan Turbo GT. We have a Lucid Air. There's an Acura ZDX. There's a BMW, but I don't remember which one. And there's also there's one other car, and I'm sorry that I'm blanking on whichever one it is.
Did you see the Lotus concept car Roadster, the EV thing?
No.
It's good looking.
It's neat.
Yeah, let me find it.
I still have yet to drive the. Did you know who say when the Elettres are coming?
I don't know. But that is a big heavy thing.
Lotus.
Look at this thing.
Oh, it looks like an Elise.
Yeah.
It looks like an Elise with Mini Cooper wheels, with John Cooper Works wheels.
Yeah, a little bit.
Doesn't those
look
have mini
short
wheels?
and stubby and tall? But I
fully
I
charge
like
in 6 minutes. Is that because the battery is tiny? I mean,
that's a very good question.
Ultra rapid charging, huh? So what do they have to?
The designer of the original Elise S1,
Julian Thompson. Yeah, I mean, it does. It looks like an Elise. It looks exactly like you would want Elise to be. 35 kilowatt hour battery. That's a small battery.
That is very small. The battery in the C63 hybrid is 6 kilowatt hours.
Oh, it is.
So this is, and
that's bigger than I thought it would be.
It has an electric range of, I think it's 8 miles or something. It's very short, but it's more about bursts.
But the Artura McLaren can go 8 miles on a 1.9 kilowatt hour battery.
How much? That is efficient.
Yeah.
How much does that car weigh?
Not 3,200 pounds.
Oh,
it's light.
The C63 weighs 5,000.
Yeah, that's why.
That's why. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So this
okay,
is the concept.
So that's. I mean, I'm not like 6-minute charge, like that's great. But if you can do a 350 kilowatt charge at a 35 kilowatt hour battery pack, then yeah, that math checks out. Yeah. The rear 3/4 angle is not great. It's not as good as the front.
It's not as good as the front, but it's fun. But I guess this is very much a concept, and like maybe our technology will work. That'd be cool.
I'd like to see it's not Lotus. It's from a company called Neobolt. The designer behind the Elise teamed up with Neobolt and Callum, create an Elise-inspired electric sports car. That's like close enough where if I was Lotus, I might be pissed. I mean, that looks an awful lot like an Elise.
What are you doing? Yeah,
that's pretty close.
It's pretty funny.
Okay, and then it's got the greenhouse of like an Alpha 4C.
Yeah, that's true.
Right? Yeah. So let's see. It's been kind of a fun week. First off, last episode, not the one I did with Dario, which I'll talk about that in a second, but we talked about some shit that went down in the canyons, and that I wish I had some satellite communication. Mm-hmm. There were demo videos on how to make your iPhone work, so thank you for sending whoever sent that. But I got this. This is called a Zoleo satellite communicator. And it's basically, it's a device that can send an SOS signal on its own with this SOS button here if there's an emergency. And Zach, there's instructions on how to use the SOS button on the back. Or my phone can connect to it, and using their app, I can send satellite text messages. So it's not the only company that does this. Garmin has a similar thing also. A few people, someone suggested this, and I looked it up, and I was like, wow, that looks great. Folks, got to take a quick break for Delete Me. They've been sponsoring our podcast for a minute, and boy, do we love them. Somebody you know, if not you, has been a victim of identity theft, harassment, scams, or just been annoyed by scams and robocalls. I get annoyed by these robocalls all the time, even though I've been on every single do not call list. They're still calling. It's driving me nuts. Even my parents were fraudulently affected because someone used their mailing address to set up credit cards. It was a whole big problem. Privacy is so important, and our personal information is everywhere on the internet because we buy stuff. We're easy targets. We're shopping online. We're inputting our info into these websites, and it's out there, right? But we can protect ourselves and get peace of mind with Delete Me. Delete Me finds and removes any personal information you don't want online, and then they make sure it stays off. It's a subscription service that takes your personal info from the largest people search databases on the web, and in the process helps prevent potential ID theft, doxing, and phishing scams. All you have to do is sign up and provide Delete Me with exactly what information you want deleted. Their experts take it from there. Delete Me then sends you regular personalized privacy reports showing what info they found, where they found it, and what they removed. And Delete Me is not just a one-time service. Delete Me is always working for you, constantly monitoring and removing the personal information you don't want on the internet. So take control of your data and keep your private life private by signing up for Delete Me, now at a special discount for our listeners. You can get a 20% off your Delete Me plan by going to joindeleteme.com/tire and use promo code TIRE at checkout. The only way to get 20% off is to go to joindeleteme.com/tire and enter code TIRE at checkout. That's joindeleteme.com/tire and then use code TIRE. And now back to the show. And then I bought it, and then other people were like, "Well, why didn't you get the Garmin one?" I was like, "I don't know. They're basically the same. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's not much difference." So it was $200, and it's $20 a month, and I'm going to carry it with us in the mountains. And so if something bad happens, we'll be able to call for help. Yeah,
I think it's a really good. I can't believe we didn't have something like that before. Just like never came to mind. A lot of the press cars have an SOS function.
Yeah, but that's true. But Yeah, it's relatively new technology when it comes to like consumer grade stuff, but for a very little investment financially, it does make me feel better about having it.
100%.
Yeah.
I think anybody who drives in the canyons or in remote areas a lot might be wise to have one of those.
Yeah, so I'm gonna travel with that, and you never know. It works anywhere in the world.
That's rad.
So. And then, yeah, with the messaging, you have to message through their app. I can't just use my phone to send. It's not just like a router.
Right. So if you wanted to text, if you're up the hill and you wanted to text Vinny down here, you can't text Vinny using iMessage.
No.
You have to text him, and he has to have the app also.
Yeah, it's like a WhatsApp. It's like a separate messaging app. So I can invite an unlimited number of people to download the app and connect with me. But I can't just like use my phone normally.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not for like every day all the time, but like it's, you know, for you, for my wife, for the staff here, for like my parents, like anything like emergency, it can come through that.
It's really good.
So,
yeah.
And apparently this thing also the unit itself lights up if you get a message.
Oh. Is that what those little
these are little lights
strikes are for?
That means that's email. I think that's a mail message.
Oh, okay, cool.
I think we haven't actually used it yet. I just charged it, down the apps. So we'll make a review of it at some point. But I'm kind of stoked. On having that.
Shove that in the case.
I would have hit the SOS button for the motorcyclist that crashed.
That's
I hope
what
that guy's
it's for,
okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, you had a bit of an emergency, so couldn't do the show with Dario. But how about that T.50?
Holy shit. Yeah.
That's okay.
Oh my God. It's worth all the money. And I mean, we only had a ride in it, but it was a pretty great ride, I would have to say. And
as
we
far
can
as dick
assess
teases
things.
go, that's a pretty serious dick tease. And you and I were like a couple of balls dangling behind there.
We were right behind him, and he was out front having all the fun. And we're like, hey, somebody touch us.
Yeah.
But I will say that from the seat, you know, we can assess things like ride, compliance, you know, suspension stiffness on what a road we drive all the time. I mean, sound obviously, but like, I just couldn't believe how good the suspension felt, and it makes sense based on all the philosophies that Gordon has told to us.
Also Jordan.
Yeah,
Jordan's
Michael
philosophy.
Jordan, well known.
Yeah.
Nike,
bet big, bet often.
comfortable.
Yeah.
Bet big, bet often. Ain't no thing to him. But damn, like I think that's the best riding car I've ever been in on one of our favorite roads, which is not the smoothest thing.
Of that type, for sure. You know,
really
for
good.
sure. I mean, I would say that like the Maybach GLS rides better, but like in terms of like
sports cars, it was really incredible.
It was crazy how much suspension travel it had. Like a lot of travel.
I bet if you put it on jacks, it would have a lot of droop for a sports car compared to GT3 RS, or even like when we drove like the Corvette. The Mag Ride's amazing. That's probably second place to this, but this just felt the right amount of soft, the right amount of body control. It wasn't too flat in the corners.
Yeah.
I mean, big bumps we hit, it just like floated over them. I was really impressed.
And really, really high cornering speeds on off-the-rack Pilot Sport 4S tires.
Yeah.
Like, it's hilarious that all these sports cars that I drive, you know, that are not even like that high level, like the fucking 911 GTS. Like, it's not a GT3 RS, it's a GTS. Like, does that car has a bespoke spec tire, and so many of these cars have bespoke spec tires. And here's this car that's $3.5 million that has tons of power, can go crazy fast, and it's like no, off the rack, not even cups, like. And that's pretty crazy and awesome.
I would like to talk to an engineer at some point and learn about, you know, why do so many of these companies go with like their own compound? Because there's got to be a reason beyond they get to say that this is a special compound.
Well, it's because they can, and it's you know, you can optimize the car with the tire, and if you've got a car with sufficient enough volume, then it makes sense to optimize it with the tire. You can ask Michelin or whoever to make you a tire that will do what you want to do. And a lot of times it's easier. You can use a tire to cover up certain flaws in geometries or weight or whatever.
You can also control things like the breakaway, how you want it to break away, or do you want it to be firmer on the inside of the tread? I think, was it the GTS that had this? Someone was telling me that it's like, it looks like a 4S tire, but the outside compound is like Pilot Sport Cup 2, and the inside is a harder thing. So when it's just going straight, it's it's more efficient because there's less rolling resistance. But then once you get into the corners,
it also has a lot of camber.
It's got a lot of camber, and then you lean on softer compound.
Was it the Taycan Turbo? Not Taycan, the Cayenne Turbo GT.
Maybe
it might have been, because
maybe
that
I was
runs
talking
crazy camber.
Maybe I was talking to Frank about that.
Yeah.
That might have been it.
Yeah.
That is probably right, because he's smart.
Now, I would bet that if GMA could get a custom tire made, the car would probably drive even better.
For 50 cars, whatever.
Yeah, but it would, with that kind of volume, it doesn't make any sense. Michelin might not bother with them, but also it doesn't need it.
No.
What else do you need, really?
So, like, what cabin space is a little constrained for someone of your height?
Yeah,
it's a bit
not height,
tight.
Shoulder width.
Oh yeah,
shoulder width. Yeah. If you're skinny, or short, or a child.
Well, I needed to remove my left leg, because if I put it really in front of me, then the shifter would have been touching my knee all the time, or Dario would have been. And so I was like cross-legged, because the right side seat, which is where I was, the footwell is narrower than the seat bottom.
Right.
So it's like, just angle yourself this way a bit.
Right.
Yeah.
And my feet were sort of like there's like the flat part in front of the seat, the floor, and then it goes like up. And you can put your feet up there, which is sort of what I had to do. It wasn't comfortable. Dario looked comfortable. If you're the driver, you're comfortable, or if you're, very skinny or small, you could fit in the passenger side. So yeah, the photo up, the entire shifter and console assembly is where Zach's left leg really would be.
Yeah, the shape of my seat was very good and very supportive for being, thin padding on fixed carbon fiber. I mean, the quality and execution inside is awesome. I love the gauges, and you have analog tack, and then the digital speedo to the left of it, like the color matched, but I could see it from where I was sitting. There was no glare on it, like it wasn't graying out at all. It seems like a really high quality unit. And then the rear view mirror screens are very interesting. It's like
they're
Hyundai
cool.
Elantra has that. Hyundai, and the Elantra, they have those in other countries.
Well, there's a real aerodynamic advantage to having little cameras there instead of big mirrors.
Yeah, the cameras were tiny. And he had to. Do you see them power them on when we were there? He had to hold the button like a GoPro.
But man, that engine is really something wild, because you'll be cruising along, and right where you would be redlining another car, you're like not even halfway.
Yeah.
Like you like 6 is like loafing along in that car, and it sounds like you should probably shift.
It does.
But like no.
And it's not slow. I mean, he drove at 4,000 RPMs with us. He did, the demo stuff, but he's like, all right, this is third gear from 2,000 RPM, and it's got a lot of torque down low. And we were going, once we got up into the canyons, we were going quite quickly. And he wasn't in second, third gear. He'd keep it in fifth or like fourth. And
you don't
still had
have
plenty of
to
acceleration.
wind it out.
No, not at all.
He only probably redlined it like maybe like 3 times in an hour. Like, you don't have to.
No.
But even if you shift it like, if you shift at 6,
9.
you're still going fast. If you shift at 9, you're going really fast.
Yeah.
And you've still got all these revs
You still have
left.
3,000 left because it was at 12.
It was really, 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 really nuts.
Magical.
I mean, the sound was unbelievable. And but it really reinforces what we've been saying in recent shows, which is that just raw speed is so cheap now with electrification. I mean, so cheap. You can go on fucking Cars and Bids right now and get a Tesla Plaid for $40,000.
Yeah.
I mean, and you'll probably beat this in the quarter mile. Like, that raw speed, you can just get it in so many places in regular ass cars that it's like, well, who gives a shit? It's all about sensation and uniqueness, and with this, like it wasn't great because it was 105 degrees outside, but the glass roof gives it this sort of, it's a full glass canopy from the dash all the way up over your head, except right in the center where the air intake is. So it has this very open, airy feeling about it. Of course, Dario told me, because it really felt, it was so hot out, and it really felt like the air conditioner was not powerful enough to keep the car cool. And what Dario told me later is that the techs looked at it, and the temperature sensor was not calibrated properly. So it thought it was cooler out? It didn't think it was as hot as it was.
Oh, interesting.
So, yeah, because he's like, the compressor has like more than enough power to deal with this. But
okay.
There was some kind of hiccup with that because it got real hot.
It was pretty warm in there.
It was pretty
warm
toasty.
because it's untinted. The one we were in had untinted glass, so you could get it tinted. He said they're making some press-in panels. I mean, you could do all that stuff, but it was just clear glass. It was noon.
It was
1 p.m.
Yeah.
and it was literally 100 degrees in Sunland.
Yeah, we don't go there at that time of day. We go there very early.
And the car was still fast. And it was such a fun
ridiculous.
Ride. Good Lord.
Yeah.
It's so little.
It's very small.
There is so much room between the painted lines in a parking space and the tires. I couldn't believe when we were standing there, I looked at it like it looks like an old MR2.
Yeah.
Like, it looks like the size of a second-gen MR2.
It's the width of a Golf.
That's wild.
Yeah. It basically has the footprint of my Spider, maybe a little bit longer.
Let's see, it's 171 inches long.
How long is my Boxster?
3 inches longer.
My Boxster is 3 inches longer?
Yes.
Wow. Guys, I got to take one more quick break from the show to plug our own swag. We got WCCS hats available at thesmokingtireshop.com. This is by far the most requested piece of merch we've ever had. The hat that I wear, the blue hat with the WCCS logo, I wear it in every video, on every podcast. You can buy it at thesmokingtireshop.com or go to our website, thesmokingtire.com, and click on that merch tab. Get one for yourself, embroidered, beautifully fitted with a flex fit back, and they're really, really nice. It's the exact same hat I wear. Go to thesmokingtireshop.com. Plus, we have just a few of the Nodus Canyon Night Sky watches left at Nodus, Nodus watches.com. I designed this watch. It's a really, really beautiful piece. 200 meters water resist, 41 millimeter, a beautiful Jubilee bracelet with a quick adjust clasp, our logo, and a topographical map of the Angeles Forest where we like to make our videos in the case back, and a unbelievable gradient blue glittering night sky dial. It's just fantastic. We're selling a $2,500 watch for $1,200. Head over to noduswatches.com. Get one for yourself while supplies last, because once they go, they're not coming back. And now, back to the program.
Your Boxster is 174 inches long.
Yeah, that's crazy. So you got a longitudinal V12 and 3 seats.
That's incredible.
In the length of a Boxster.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's wild.
But you have a trunk.
2.
Right, well, I meant trunk and frunk.
Oh,
you have trunk,
yeah. I have both.
And the frunk was
that
where
one has
Dario's
side
feet
trunks. It has like ram boxes.
That's incredible. You can still fit luggage in the thing somewhere.
They're smart.
But you see, when the door was open, you see the whole like open wheel kind of chassis underneath. Like it's just exposed wheel with carbon fiber. And you go, okay, this is like an F1 car.
Yeah, there's a lot.
We are the side pods. It's fucking dope. It's so sick.
I absolutely understand why people would pay all that money for that car. If I had that money, I would absolutely have one of these.
Yeah.
There's no question.
There's no experience like that. No driving experience.
And, Dario was saying on the show, and I really encourage everybody to go listen to it. And Gordon said as well when he came on the show, that they didn't do any track testing. I mean, they did test it on racetracks a couple of times, but like it's not supposed to be a track car. It's supposed to be a road car, and the entire setup of it is for the road. It's not for the track. It's not a track day special. They've got that S one, the T50S, that is the track day one, that has the paddle shifted gearbox and all this other stuff in it. But like it's supposed to be a road car, so it's supposed to be pleasant and exciting at regular speeds too, and usable, which I don't see why it wouldn't be.
That must be very...
Remember when he hit the speed bump at 35 miles an hour?
Yeah.
That was pretty amazing.
Yeah. A normal car would have caught air, or it would have been a much more jarring experience. I mean, it went up, down, but it wasn't that big a deal.
Yeah.
It didn't feel like the whole car was going to break in half.
Yeah.
It must be very freeing that they don't have to chase numbers. Like, even Nürburgring, let that sit aside. Even if you're an OEM building a sports car right now, you know it has to do a better figure eight than the old one, like a Motor Trend figure eight, or the skid pad should probably be better. Like, you have to make all those numbers go up. So then you have to set it up to have more grip and usually more spring and all this stuff. And this is like, it doesn't really have competition because it's just a car. It's like, it's in this amazing, at that level, the hypercar builders just build something that's amazing and that people get excited about.
Yeah. It doesn't matter what the numbers are.
Right.
They're fast enough that it's fast. Like in the binary, like, is it fast? Yes, fast. Cool. But like, no one's competing. No one's measuring tenths of a second at that point, except John Hennessy, maybe, and Christian Koenigsegg, kind of, but no one gives a shit if a Pagani or this is faster. They're both faster than their drivers can drive them.
Yeah,
but cool. Holy fucking shit. And they said we couldn't drive it because, and they gave a good reason. They said because it's not yet homologated for the U.S., only company employees can drive on their visitor carnets, and there's and I do believe that. I don't think they were making that up, and I do think that when the time is right, we will be able to drive one. I think if we went to England, we could probably drive one.
Let's go to England.
I would go to England for that. Yeah, I'd go to England for that. But you can learn a bunch from a ride, like not enough to make a video, which is why we didn't make a video. I didn't want to make a video because we weren't driving, but you can learn enough to learn if something's awesome. Mm-hmm. Like this is awesome. This is very, very awesome.
The reverse lockout switch. I mean, it was like he clicked it just to show us, and it had an amazing click. It's this perfect milled aluminum. You know the attention to detail visually, but also what's the word I'm looking for? Like tactically.
Yeah. No, the way all the knobs and stuff feel in that thing are like nice.
Yeah.
Really nice. Like you're turning hardware. Yeah. That shit's important, dude.
The opposite of that, I drove the C63 back from the Canyon. And
we went on the press launch last week. And then there was an embargo for some reason, even though everybody who's anybody that isn't us seems to have driven it a year ago in Europe.
Very true.
I don't know why they tried to do an embargo. It doesn't really make any sense. Car and Driver literally published a review in March, but we didn't talk about it because we had a little bit of an issue with the one they gave us. It threw a transmission light during our test.
It did, yeah.
And then we didn't really like how it drove, and we thought that maybe those things were connected.
Well, it shifted weird to begin with. The 1 to 2 shift it was almost like E-gear. Like there was a delay and it was a hard shift, and then the transmission light came on. So we thought maybe they were related, and they probably were related. It probably shifted related. Improperly, and then it broke.
Yeah.
I mean, we drove the rest of our review, but then they said, yeah, that might be incorrect.
Yeah, and so we said, can you get us another car to compare to see if what we felt is what we were supposed to be feeling or if it was broken? And they got us another car, which we checked out, and it turns out it was broken, and this one didn't do that thing. But everything else in the video we made is accurate, and this is a disappointing car. It's over-teched.
It's very teched.
But where did this car go wrong? Because it's a 4-cylinder electrified turbo with a hybrid powertrain on the rear axle, a 6-kilowatt battery, all-wheel drive. there's a lot
same
going
torque as a Bentley Continental Speed.
It's got huge power.
Yeah.
671 power
and 759 torque,
which is a huge number.
Yeah.
And that seems like something that we would want. And it does have technology that technically, literally speaking, does trickle down from Formula One. So where did it go wrong?
Well, for me, I think that the C63 only existed with a V8. I mean, if we discount, C36, different model.
Yeah.
So it always had a V8.
Yeah.
I think the advantage that BMW had is that the M3 went from 4 cylinders to 6 to 8 back to 6 with turbos. So people complained along the way, but the car was always fast and exciting, and people just go, okay, we'll just get over it. This, I think so much of the identity was in the fact that you could drive a C63 slowly and have a good time. It had attitude. You could sit in idle and it would always be like, and that was part of the charm and the fun of it. And we talk all the time about how modern cars are only exciting at breakneck speed. This is like that. You below whatever RPM, it's not exciting. I mean, it buzzes a lot, but it sounds like every hot hatch out there. It doesn't sound to me like this special M3 fighting super sedan it was. Now it sounds like the GLA 35 or 45, 35.
Yeah, 45. Either one, that's the same sound.
Or a Focus RS. Like it's kind of knocked it down market experientially in terms of sound. And then the ride is really stiff. I mean, the roads here are garbage, but it's a really stiff ride. Touchscreen. I don't know. I feel like it's lost a lot of its identity in that cachet. Yeah.
Well, the C63, although it handled well in the past, was always sort of a muscle car. I mean, that was the vibe. Mm-hmm. And that hot rod, big engine, small car thing was such an appeal. And you're right. Unlike a modern, particularly an electric car, you could enjoy this thing at low speeds because it had that bark, it had that growl, and it really made the right sounds and had this nice torque. And although you can use electrification to torque fill in shifts and without taking a car's character away, like the Corvette E-Ray does, and although you can electrify a turbocharger to make instant power and boost like the 911 hybrid does. In the case of the E-Ray or the 911 hybrid, the core character of the car has not been taken away. You've got your small block V8 in the Vet. You've got a flat 6 in the 911. In this case, the hybrid has been used to downsize the cylinder count by half from 8 to 4. And although it's impressive that they've got what is apparently the world's most powerful production 4-cylinder engine, it's 485?
469.
469 horsepower, 4-cylinder, which is an impressive number. But to call it the C63 and go, this is replacing this growly, emotional V8 with something that is hugely digitized. And it's fast. It's objectively faster than the car it replaces, but it's definitely not any more fun. And I don't know. I would have. I'm not Mercedes. I'm not a car company, but like I understand like the environment's important and fuel economy and emissions are important. I get that, and this isn't an easy thing to do. But I would have given up some of Mercedes' more like wasteful vehicles, I maybe would not do a G63 anymore to do it for my cafe fuel economy. Or
I wonder what they sell more of.
Well, the margins are certainly higher on a G63.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be shocked if they like literally sell more G63s than C63s. I mean, we know that sales on sedans and coupes are way down, and G63s are so popular. So it's probably a numbers game. For people like us, nerdy enthusiasts, this is like kind of the end of an era. I mean, they said they're going to put the V8 in. I think the backlash was so strong, so maybe that will bring that back. But eventually, cars like this will be more common. But the weird thing for me is that the M3 makes 170 fewer horsepower, whatever the number is, and it's quicker to 60 if you get the X-Drive. It's quicker in a quarter mile. This thing's only faster if you do like the 5 mile per hour roll, because all the electronic stuff really helps. But you get all this weight, you get all this power, and it's not really any faster.
Yeah, I mean, it's this cycle of it needs to be more powerful because of the added weight, and it needs the added weight. It needs the added tech to make it more powerful, because we have to have a smaller engine to save emissions, right? But I don't know if when you're going fast, if the emissions are any better.
Probably not, but this does get 40 miles per gallon combined MPG, which is like double an M3.
Well, yeah.
So the emissions at normal speeds.
It can drive on electric only.
Yeah. I mean, around town, it is way cleaner. I mean, almost twice as clean, I guess, in terms of consumption, which is impressive.
I would, if I ran a car company, I would do everything I could to make the regular versions of the cars as efficient as I possibly could, so that my focused sports car didn't have to be that. And it must be really hard to build a car like this, to have all these systems that like work together and do all this stuff. Like, that sounds hard, and I'm not smart, but that sounds really hard. But it doesn't matter how impressive a technological feat is if at the end the sports car isn't any fun.
Yeah, true. I mean, and this thing, you know, it handles well. Like, it was quick in the canyons, and it's fast and whatnot. I think what's challenging for Mercedes at this price point is you have competition that's also hybridizing or electrifying, you know, or building an EV. So your cheaper competition is catching up in terms of speed, horsepower, and almost like experience. And some of them are doing a pretty good impression in terms of interior design, quality, luxury. And so they're like, well, we need to make so Mercedes goes, we need to make these cars more efficient. But if we make them too simple and efficient, then our competition is so close to us, people might just go across the street and save 30 grand. I think it's tough.
Like, when I talk about hybrid cars being a good halfway point to EVs, I really mean that in terms of like everyday cars for a lot of people. You could electrify more cars with small battery hybrids that have 30 miles of range and then an efficient engine. And Johnny Lieberman disagrees because he says it's the worst of both worlds. And I think this car is sort of an example of it's not a good EV. It's okay, but it's not great, and it's not a good. It has not a great gas powertrain, and then it has all this extra weight because it's got 2 full powertrains. Like, even in the Porsche, the e-motor is inside the gearbox. With this one, the e-motor's on the rear axle.
Yeah,
so the
like
e-motor can like do more, and it can drive on electric only, but that does add like weight and complexity and all that other stuff.
I mean, it is, like you said, it's impressive. It's super trick because it's a 2-speed electric motor. And then if it starts to slip in the rear, it has basically a power shaft that goes like to the front and then can, you know, contribute power to the front wheels, so then it's all-wheel drive. Like, that is very clever engineering. But it's just, you know, the end result is like it's just not as
that fun.
Yeah, it's not that fun.
Which is a real problem for a car like that, because the one before it was super fun. Like, that's a super fun car. And
that one we drove, the Carbon car from Dynan, was amazing.
Yeah.
And like gorgeous inside and out, felt luxurious, fast as fuck, handled great. That was the legendary C63 for me.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's crazy that it took them that long to bring this car here from Europe. I don't know what the delay was there. And it's possible it's already dead. I mean, it's possible that this car is only going to last a year, and then they're going to have a V8 back,
maybe,
because I just don't see them selling a lot of these. It's not, to me, it's not a desirable car anymore.
Yeah.
Which is a bummer. But you'll see the video eventually. But we have a lot of videos that we've shot, and
like 11, yeah.
Yeah, and we only have so much bandwidth for editing them, so they will be coming out. But in a lot of cases, you're going to hear about it here before you see the video. But
so I pulled this up. Someone in our Q&A, which we'll get to, asked what we thought about this article, and this article's on Jalopnik. It says, "New car, your interiors aren't getting more distracting. You're just getting old." And
bullshit.
Well, yeah, but, I mean, we both share that opinion. But on the way down here in the C63, I was trying to make a phone call on my recent calls list. I got disconnected. So I'm just trying to hit and call my friend Chris. And I hit a bump and I accidentally called my friend Mike. And I hit end. And I went to hit Chris again and I hit a bump and I accidentally hit Mike. So twice in a row I had like butt dials my friend Mike.
You're supposed to use the voice commands, geezer.
That's probably true. But like touchscreen, inaccurate.
I don't want to talk to my car.
Like it was a very clear example of why touchscreens are distracting and are problematic when you're driving around.
Well, I mean, the Mercedes is a really good example of a very, so much screen. There's a disco in there, and even the photo on this Jalopnik article is Mercedes disco lights.
Yeah, and I disagree with I've never met Andy Kalmowitz. I'm sure you're a very nice person, but he was like in the article, he's like anyone who is a little bit tech savvy won't have problems with this stuff. Like I consider myself pretty tech savvy.
That's not true at all.
I know. I'm an editor. Blah blah blah. One of my problems with these cars at nighttime is the contrast of viewing out the front versus what's happening inside the car.
Yeah.
And if you drive anywhere where it's darker than Los Angeles, like it really literally strains any human's eyes to constantly change from light to dark, light to dark, light to dark. Like those cones get tired. So that's why, that's one complaint I have about this kind of stuff.
Well, and unless it is exactly the same hardware and UI as your phone. Like CarPlay is good because we know what the icons on our phone look like, and it looks just like your phone, and so you don't need to learn a new thing. But with these types of operating systems, the colors are different, the icons are different, the menus are different, and you do have to learn a new thing, and they're often not as slickly designed as just your phone.
True. I navigated the Mercedes one pretty quickly, and like you learned the Mach-E thing.
I'm used to the
one.
Mercedes one by now.
Yeah, I think owners would be all right with that.
And the Ford one, I actually think is very good. I think it's a very simple, which just less is more when it comes to this stuff.
They kind of, I don't want to say copy the iPhone, but it's like white background, black text, very clear, simple icons laid out. Mercedes
Some of them are not good,
flourish.
though.
That's true.
The Hyundai one is really confusing and disorganized. The Ferrari one is infuriating.
Yes.
They're
the
not,
control system for the Ferrari one is challenging.
Yeah. So you're saying you're just getting old is, I think, a cop-out.
I think all the systems are a little different, and some of them are genuinely poorly designed or complicated. And then some of them, it's too bright sometimes.
Yeah.
And I know you can turn that stuff down, and that does help, but there's some screens out there in usually less expensive cars where you can't dim your gauge pod that much or your center console that much. And if you're driving like 5 hours at night in a Montana or somewhere where it's very dark, like your eyes will get tired.
Driving back from Vegas in the G-Wagon, it was tough.
Yeah.
It was tough. The screens are very bright. Yeah. So that's what's kind of been going on around here. I know we got a lot of questions on the Patreon. By the time you guys are listening to this show, we'll be up at Pebble doing our Pebble thing. That's why I'm wearing my Pebble hat.
It's a good hat.
You know this hat, right? This was my brother-in-law John Stein's hat. And do you know what a white elephant party is?
Yeah.
It's where like it's like mystery gifts. So Jillian, John's wife, did the best thing ever. He died right near his birthday. And so rather than having like a anniversary of death party, they had a birthday party for him in March. And there was a white elephant gift exchange at the party, except instead of people bringing gifts and people opening them and you can steal the gift and whatever, it was John's stuff. It was like John's favorite T-shirts and stuff like that. And some people got very emotional as they pulled shirts and stuff that actually were important to them, that they pulled randomly out of the pile. I mean, I saw multiple grown men cry. But I got John's straw hat, which is great because he was 140 pounds and I wouldn't fit any of his fucking T-shirts.
Yeah.
You got one of his shirts.
I did. It's very cool.
Yeah, we got a shirt for you.
Yeah.
And it's a dope shirt, actually.
Yeah. It says build, destroy, rebuild on it, which I like.
Yeah. No, Bill, Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I took John's hat and I added my Safari school bus pattern around the band. And now my emotional support hat is Pebble Beach ready.
Emotional support.
Good to go.
Yeah, it's a great hat.
Yeah.
It's going to be hot
The
up there.
band works.
Yeah.
It's not going to be hot up there.
It's
you look at
not?
the weather?
No.
You should.
I always check the night before.
It's going to be cold.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's going to be like, the high is like 62.
Whoa.
I mean, that's what it says today.
A lot of old cars just got so happy.
Yeah.
Everyone stuck in traffic is going to be so happy.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, on Monday they're dropping off my Artura Spider, and on Monday the luggage shipping people are coming because we're shipping our luggage, which is hilarious because it won't fit in
If
the
you had a
Artura.
T.50, you just put it in the side pod.
Fuck. Or the guy who made me come look at his Singer and his matched luggage.
Oh, yeah.
This guy was so excited at Cars and Coffee Meet to show me his new Singer, which, I mean, it's very nice, whatever, and was so excited to show me his matched tartan luggage. And he was like, it has custom this, and I'm going, homie, it's a Singer. You don't need to use the word custom.
Yeah.
They're all custom.
Yeah.
There's no standard and option. They're all.
He's like, I chose the seat color. Yeah, man.
Yeah,
they ask you every question.
did.
I bet you were there a while.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
But he was an Indian gentleman. And, they don't like, they're all like, they don't eat cow. They don't
Right.
fuck with cow or leather.
Right.
So it was cloth interior.
That's probably pretty
which was,
rad.
Which was dope.
Ooh.
It was.
What material was the roof? Like the
The
headliner?
headliner?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I
didn't
mean, you
feel
could do
it.
like cashmere. Like you could get real creative.
Yeah, you could do all kinds of stuff. I don't
that's
know,
cool.
but the seats were cloth, and I was
Nice.
like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's a good way to
It was.
go.
And it had all this matched luggage. It's 10 pieces.
10 pieces fit in that car?
Yeah, there was 3 in the front, and then 5 that went behind the seats and like tucked into the
Oh,
shelf.
because it can't be that big because the seats fixed.
There
in that?
weren't seats. There was no back seats.
No, but the front seats. If
That
you get
was
the
the
buckets,
thing.
they don't recline.
Yeah,
So you need to like
the rails were like
gap.
extended, so they could go.
you could slide
He
back
said
there.
they could go far enough.
That's
forward.
really smart.
The math
All right.
didn't. The math didn't look like the stuff could get out, but they got back there somehow.
There's an
so
order.
I don't know.
Yeah.
There's this process.
It's like a clown car.
Yeah.
All right.
Lot going on the Patreon. Of course, if you want to support the show, ask us questions, get the live stream, get the show in advance, get the show without ads, get access to exclusive merch collabs, etc. Patreon.com/The Smoking Tire Podcast is where you do it. Flannel Bob says, what's more fun, driving timeless pieces of automotive engineering in controlled and normal settings, or beating the hell out of a shit box and making it do things a car was never designed to do? Well, one is more mentally fun and one is more physically fun.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Driving a beater up a fucking rally stage like it never has to come home is amazing fun.
It's very freeing.
It's freeing, and your body feels good about that. But driving, a car that you've seen in magazines and seen on television or on the Detroit Auto Show stand, and then actually, like that Cobra, actually driving it and experiencing what that's like, or a car that was raced by somebody famous and seeing what it felt like to be them, that's also a treat.
It's like riding in the T.50 was like going to a concert where we really appreciate the music. Like, you can stand there and you go, this is amazing, complicated music. And then Shitbox is like, you go to Metallica, you go in the pit.
Yeah.
It's very, you feel it, and it's very like primal, and you're just having a good time.
Yeah, yeah. Clapman's freshman dorm bed.
Great
That's a
dorm room. Great nickname. That is so funny.
Was it a great dorm room? Did you have a good freshman dorm room?
I did. We had a triple.
A triple?
Like-
Was it 3 individual rooms with a living room?
No.
It was 3 beds in one big room?
Yes.
Woo!
But we had double the space of a double of like two people, so it was still better than that. I mean, back then we were
Bunk
like
beds?
one bunk bed, one single bed.
Okay. Which one was yours?
I was top bunk bed. Yeah, which I didn't care about. Like, I slept in.
Yeah.
And my roommate who played hockey, he had the single bed because he would get up at like 5 to go to hockey practice, and we're like, all right,
Yeah.
I don't want the bed to move every morning at 5 a.m. because
Sure.
I definitely won't wake up when you wake up.
Yeah.
So, but my dorm room saw zero action, so you had a very quiet existence, Mr. Dorm Bed.
I had a single. I got a single freshman year.
so
yeah.
jealous.
I think that was I think that was legacy privilege. I think that's why.
Those existed at my college.
Dude, it was a small single, though. It was probably half the size of this room. It was.
So that desk. That's it.
I could stand in the middle and touch both walls. I could. It was really, really small.
Is your wingspan more than your height? I guess so.
It's as close as makes no difference.
Holy shit.
It's 6'2", 6'3". So you walk in and the bed was on the left.
Fancy jail.
And then on the right, it was just fridge, desk, and that was it. It was. I mean,
it's fancy jail.
It wasn't. It was, other than the fact that I had the key to the door.
That's what I'm saying. That's the fancy part.
There were bars on the windows too because it was ground floor.
Oh shit!
So
really?
Yeah.
Oh, we were ground floor.
I could open the window, but there were bars.
We were ground floor, but I don't think we had bars. But you know,
dude. But it was other than having the key, it was basically a jail cell.
That's funny.
Yeah, it was gnarly. But I actually, in hindsight, wish I did not have a single freshman year. Because people with roommates did that year. I actively chose a roommate for my sophomore year. When I moved into the frat house, I moved in with a roommate intentionally because I wanted to have that experience.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. Sidetrack there. Clapman's freshman dorm bed says, if you weren't working for a living, what hobbies would you have? I would probably play guitar. I mean, I'd still fuck around with cars for fun, for sure. I'd probably go hunting with my dad. I'd do a lot of cooking.
Yeah. You develop some menus.
Yeah.
You'd probably end up opening a restaurant by some.
I don't think I think there's a trap there of that. I like home cooking, therefore I want to open. They're so different. You want to avoid that trap.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
It's better to have like a charity event that you cook for once a year. That's actually the way to do it.
Competition barbecue.
Or that was fun. That was real fun.
That's what I would want to do.
Yeah.
Competition barbecue. Yeah. What would you do?
I think I would build a car because I could take a lot of time doing that. So I would like to learn those skills. And then right now I'm just on like rock climbing kick. I would do that 3 days a week or more. Like it's so much fun.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'd get in really good shape too. I would train a lot, and I'd get in really good shape. Actually, I'd probably have a boat. I would sail. I would do a lot of sailing. I would sail and race boats.
I'd also do a lot of comedy shit, but I don't know if that would be is that a hobby? I guess. Yeah. I guess it's a hobby until you get paid for it.
Yeah. Spanky says, is there a reason why diesel electric hybrids aren't prevalent? Is it because combining them is too expensive to justify, or are there other reasons keeping them from being a thing?
That's a good question.
I think diesels after 2014 have got such a bad rap for being dirty that I think you have to do too much to make a diesel not dirty. That in an economy car, it becomes not worth the trade-off. Because
probably true.
Emissions are probably more important to the builders of economy cars than just dollars in and mileage traveled.
Well, I think also the engines tended to be heavier because they were iron. So if you already have a hybrid system or an EV system, like it's already heavy enough. So if you had to have a heavier motor, and with direct injection and everything, we have gas engines that now are getting the mileage of like a lot of TDI cars from like 10 years ago. So there's not really an argument for it anymore.
But I really think after 2014, like people just stopped developing diesel engines. They were like, I don't want any part of this.
Well, I think the market was like, get that the fuck out of here. We're not buying that anymore. So it's a little bit of chicken and egg.
Because everybody was cheating emissions.
Yeah.
And if they're like, it's like if none of you can, Volkswagen gets the worst rap, but Mercedes and BMW and fucking Dodge, like they were all cheating. And it was like, if none of you can make this work, that you all need to cheat, let's just get rid of this technology entirely. Jake Shores, what C-Tech model tenders are you using at WCCS? I want one for my GT4, but there are different versions, and I don't feel the need to pay Porsche tax for the Porsche branded one when it's the same thing. Let me break this down. One is we have a bunch of different tenders here, depending on the size of the battery and stuff like that. So I don't have a one-size-fits-all answer. Let me give a defense of the Porsche tax. It's not that the tender is better. It ain't. It's the same C-Tech tender that is made without saying Porsche on it. C-Tech makes almost all of the OEM tenders. But we had a problem once with a client's battery in a Porsche 992, which we had kept on a C-Tech tender. It was not a Porsche tender. It was just a regular C-Tech. And the battery was dying. And we suspected, and I believe we were correct, that this car sat off a tender at their house for like 6 months before coming with us. Mm-hmm. And our tenders, the C-Tech tenders, are a good maintainer, but if the battery has already been discharged a bunch, it's kind of not going to last. And so this battery, the car would start, but it would throw a battery light on the dash. We took it to the dealer, and they said the battery's shot. It needs to be replaced. And we said, that's crazy because we've been keeping it on a tender. And the tender was in the trunk. And we took out the tender and showed them. And they said, that isn't a Porsche tender. And we're like, yeah, but like, come on. And he was like, not a Porsche tender. And they wouldn't warranty the battery because it wasn't a Porsche tender. So to get back to Jake's question, yeah, the Porsche tax is dumb. It is, and it's real. However, if you use a non-Porsche tender and they find out, they're going to deny a battery claim that they might otherwise pay out. Mm-hmm. Same thing happened, not to us, but to someone else we know with a Lamborghini Urus. They didn't use the Lamborghini tender. They used a regular tender, and Lamborghini was like, nope. And they're all fucking C-Tech tenders, mm-hmm. all of them. So that's the reason why. You can, if you really care, I don't know the model number offhand, but you can call C-Tech and say, I want the one that is the official Porsche tender, and they'll tell you and they'll sell it to you, and it is a little cheaper. It's like maybe, if the Porsche one is $200, the non-branded one is like $110. But if it was me, let me just say this. I use a Porsche tender on my Porsche.
Well, is the battery more than $90?
Yes.
Right, that's why.
The battery's $350 if it's not lithium.
Right.
If it's lithium, it's real expensive. Yeah. And if you get, I think you get lithium batteries in all 992s that have rear steer. They need lithium batteries.
Because they need the juice.
The juice. Let's see. Tim A. Between the C8 Z06 and the Cadillac CT5 Blackwing, has the state of American sports cars ever been better? Are there any other American OEMs coming close to GM performance? Well, I mean, any other. How you can count the number of American OEMs on not. Well, I mean, look. Let's credit where it's due. You've got the Lucid Sapphire, mm-hmm. which is an American car and is the fastest accelerating mass-produced car of all time.
And also provides good feedback.
Mm-hmm.
It's fun in the corners. It's like dynamically. It's more than just a straight line pony.
You've got the Rivian, which is the best handling, fastest pickup truck ever.
Mm-hmm. By a huge margin.
Yeah. You've got, Ford. Now we've just learned about the Mach-E Rally, which is incredibly rad. They're doing the GTD Mustang, which we haven't driven yet, mm-hmm. but I bet it won't suck.
Well, the Mach-1 was very good.
The Mach-1 was great.
And then, of course, the
GT500 was great.
Yep.
Now, look, also credit where it's due. The Z06 and the Blackwing are awesome, as is the CT4 Blackwing. GM Performance has always put out really, really good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think it's just right now, the Z06 and the Corvette are getting such headlines, deservedly so, because mm-hmm. they have built the rear engine thing, and Ford only did it with the Ford GT. But when that came out, and when they won at Daytona, that was a big headline. So I think they all just trade punches back and forth. But it's a really good time to be into sports cars, at least at that price point.
Yeah. Good question says, the CAFE footprint rule allowing worse emissions for large vehicles than small vehicles, incentivizing automakers to make larger cars. Are EVs the antidote to these restrictions that inhibit small fun cars from being cost competitive in the U.S. market? Well, there's so much more margin on large cars. right? It doesn't cost more money to develop a large car than to develop a small car, but because there's a perception with Americans that you're getting more car, you know, like let's just look at like a Tiguan versus a Golf, right? MQB platform, right? Forward of the firewall, very similar cars, similar powertrains, but you know, Tiguan is like, what, 10 inches taller, right? 8 inches taller, whatever. It is perceived that you get much more car there, and so they can sell the resulting car for a lot more money, even though it only costs incrementally more to build. Or look at something like an Escalade. If you're starting with a Silverado 1500, to get to an Escalade is only incrementally more engineering, but it's like 4 times the price at the retail. So there's the cafe thing, but there's also, since Americans associate larger cars and more powerful cars with luxury, and automakers see the margins there, they're just feeding that beast.
But I think it's a win-win for them all around, because you can make a vehicle that's less efficient and sell a larger one. So like, it's easier to sell it and it's easier to make it because it doesn't have to be as clean. And I think the rules are similar in Europe, where if the car is larger, it's allowed to have worse emissions. And so therefore it incentivizes the companies to make heavier cars, larger cars, and then they can sell them to people. Now there, it might be harder to convince them to buy a larger car. I'm not sure. If someone lives there, they can comment, but because the roads are smaller in some places.
Yeah, the roads are smaller, and gas is really expensive. But and it's also cultural. Americans buy cars for the 110% use case. Well, what if I have to? ...
Well, do you remember the Excursion, Expedition, Tahoe, Suburban war, like was it early 2000s? Like the advertisements and the competition was, we make the largest SUV. And it was like, we make the largest SUV. And then looking back on that, you just think, how much pizza can one person eat? But yeah.
I mean, I just had a conversation with my neighbor who is, his wife is pregnant. And between him, they have an X3M, an Audi Q5, and then he has a 911 for the weekends. And they're about to have their first kid.
Can I guess where this is going? I think we need a bigger car.
They need a bigger car.
Yeah.
And he goes, I saw you driving with the new Land Cruiser. I saw you drive, and I go, and he goes, with the kid and the stroller, and I go, do you think a kid's seat and a stroller like won't fit in a Q5 or an X3? Like, and he's like, but what if I and I go, listen, man, maybe like, if you want a new car, get a fucking new car. I don't care. But if you think you need a Land Cruiser for a baby seat and a stroller and your small to medium sized dogs, like, you don't,
I mean, I think only he can speak to that, but I think, I've had friends that when they had kids, they bought a larger car. And for them, it was, I don't want to fold the things as small as possible all the time.
Sure.
Like, they want to be able to huck the thing in the back and just do it quickly. Yeah. Or if they have 2 kids. But like, I think the answer is always minivan, but no one wants that answer.
No, because minivans aren't cool.
Shit. Right.
Not even Sung Kang can make a minivan cool, and like, he loves his minivan.
Yeah.
But like, our other friend had his first child and got a Hyundai Palisade. And it's like, what do you need this huge thing for? And I don't have kids, so I don't want to throw that many. But every time someone asks me about a large SUV because they've had one kid, I just try to get the thought exercise going of, don't you think this stuff will fit in the car that you have 95% of the time? And then if you need to rent a Suburban or a pickup truck or something for that couple of days a year, you can go to Enterprise and rent one for $60 a day, and you're not driving this giant thing around all the time.
Right.
And he's kind of like, oh yeah, you're probably right. And like, I don't want to tell you not to buy the car you want, but like in Europe, they do that. They have a smaller car, because it's got to be parked somewhere smaller or drive in smaller seats, and gas is expensive. And if they need a bigger car, they go rent one for a short-term period of time, and they go back to their other car. I don't know. But we always get but what if I have to move a couch? I need a giant truck.
Both my cousins have 2 kids. The kids are teenagers now on both sides. Both of them raised those kids with like a normal size SUV, like Forester or Legacy or like RAV4. So, you know, I don't know. Depends on what people's activities are, though. If your kids are into motocross, all right, then you need more space.
Yeah. Tim McLaren, following WCCS on Instagram, has me wondering, is there a car that hadn't really been on your radar until you saw it in person, day in and day out at the shop, and now you're thinking about picking one up for yourself? Well, I bought my NSX from a client. I wasn't looking for an NSX, but I happened to know that this NSX was so nice and so clean and so well cared for. When he asked if I knew anybody that might be interested in buying it, I was like, I'm not letting that leave. And so there's that one for sure. Yeah, I mean, there's some great cars here that I see all the time. There's nothing that's come through here that I haven't like seen before enough to kind of know what it is. But yeah, I did buy one car from a client, and there's another car. We're about to list another car and Bring a Trailer that if I hadn't bought the Bentley, I would have bought. That, did you see the XJR? We have a 1999 XJR Jag here that is by far the nicest one of these I've ever seen. It has 15,000 miles on it.
Whoa.
And it is unbelievably mint. And I drove it for the video, for the Bring a Trailer video the other day. And I was like, oh my God, this car is so rad. It's so nice. It's so nice. It's a brand new 20-year-old Jag. 25.
Is it on the main floor?
Yeah.
I'll go look at it when
it's
we're done.
So sick. The guy bought it, and it's been here for like 8 months. And he doesn't want to drive it. He said it's too nice. He doesn't want to drive the value out of it or whatever. It's probably worth $30,000.
Wow.
And if I hadn't bought the Bentley, I'd have bought this thing already, because I don't need 2 of these types of cars. But like, this is the nicest XJR I have ever seen. It's amazing. And when I found out he wanted to sell it, I was like, damn it. If I hadn't bought this Bentley, I'd be all over this thing. So yeah. Don't sink. Recommendations for a safe to keep watches in. I don't have any recommendations for a specific brand. I mean, things that you want to look at are if you keep your watches in like a briefcase type thing, you want to make sure obviously that fits in the safe. You want a safe with a good fire resistance rating, and you want a safe that is. You don't want like a lockbox. You want like a safe that's like 500 pounds, and you want it to bolt to the floor. Like, you don't want someone to be able to leave with the whole safe.
Yeah.
So if you're going to get a safe that someone could pick up and carry out of your house isn't much use. So
I'd say put spiders in the safe. Or like a jar full of tarantulas with Rolexes in it. No one's touching that shit.
Yeah, some creatures. Yeah, for sure. I don't have an exact recommendation. I don't even remember the name of the safe that I have, but just make sure it bolts to the floor and that it's really heavy and that it's got a good fire resistance rating. Yeah. Okay. DWBF11. I've talked a lot about the gap between lease residuals and actual market values in reference to EVs. Do you think the same pattern will hold true on plug-in hybrid EVs? I don't really know. I haven't watched the market. I mean, I think a plug-in hybrid EV is less likely to depreciate as fast because it's not entirely dependent on that battery.
Right.
And a replacement battery would be less expensive because it's smaller.
I think you could probably look at the take rate of the cars going out the door from the dealership, and that would probably apply to the used cars. Like if the FEVs are more popular than EVs just on a national scale for a year, then they're going to be more popular used, and therefore they'll probably retain their value better than the EVs, which we've seen plummet.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Chris Navio, what is your take on Porsche changing the engine in the 911 and the mid-cycle refresh? The 991.2 went from NA to turbo, and the 992.2 is E-turbo. Seems like these big changes should come with a new generation and not a refresh. I disagree. I think it's smart. I think it's a good way to extend the life cycle of the generation, and they can leapfrog.
Yeah, it's like it's a handoff of sorts. How long are their life cycles normally? Like 991?
991 was 2013, and then the .2 was 17, so 4 years, and then that went from 17 to 20 was 992.
It's very smart because it's a way to make the car seem new, especially when you're dealing with a clientele that leases new cars frequently. You know, they don't want to go, oh, it's the same exact thing as before. You go, well, now it's got a whole new engine, so it looks similar.
It gives people a reason to buy a new Porsche 911 more often than they otherwise would have. I think it's smart. Yeah.
Oops.
And by the way, the only E-turbo one is the GTS. The other Carrera so far is the same as before. Nathan says, what shortfalls, if any, did you notice with the Honda Civic Type R that you would address via modifications in the aftermarket? Meaning the first, or not the first gen, the FK8.
The Transformer one.
It rode badly. It had 20-inch wheels. I would probably downsize the wheels and get a little more sidewall. I also overheated it twice.
Oh, they had a very big problem with that, didn't they? Yeah. And they fixed it after, I think the first year was the worst.
Yeah.
That was when it got reported a lot.
The ones that overheated.
And they fixed it allegedly, but I would check forums to see if that was, especially if you're going to track it. Like, you should look into that. You might need aftermarket cooling.
Other than that, the ride, I'd make it ride softer with probably a little smaller wheel and some sidewall tires, which I'm sure has been done. And you want to make sure the overheating has been fixed. That was really it. Other than that, they're really nice cars. All right. Let's see. Kevin says, I've sacrificed a fun winter car, STI hatchback, for 2 fun cars for 3 seasons, 997 and a hot-rodded MR2. Would you sell the MR2 to help fund a GR Corolla, or keep them both and buy as good an STI hatchback as you could? I would sell the MR2 and have a Porsche and a GR Corolla as a good 2-car house.
Yeah, if the winters are long, you travel for snowboarding, I agree. But you already did the STI thing. I would do the GR thing for a little bit. Just have a different experience.
Yeah. Ivan Capote, have you seen any cars with shrinkflation? I'm going to pause this question right now because I think the term shrinkflation means paying the same amount of money and getting less.
Correct.
Not getting smaller in size. But Ivan says, we know most cars get bigger and bigger, but have any vehicles gotten smaller or felt smaller inside? Would you give up some room or space for a better driving experience?
I mean, yeah, I think cars are too big. But I think most cars are getting bigger and bigger. Tim May responded like the ND Miata is smaller than the NC and it's lighter, which is true, but which is good. I think the complaints about the NC being, a little too heavy. Like, I've never driven the ND and thought, I mean, okay, you can say, yes, I want more space, but that's like, this is the car you get. It's a fucking Miata. Like, it's small inside. So it's a matter of inches. It doesn't really matter.
I mean, it's disappointing that minis all seem to be bigger.
Right.
Like my R53 Mini did not need to be any bigger.
Yeah.
And yet it has gotten bigger.
But I don't think there's a car out there that has gotten smaller while they charge the same money for it.
Yeah.
Because that's the sneaky thing is like, chips. They would 6 ounces. It used to be 8 for the same price, and it's the same thing. Or like toilet paper rolls is a big one. They sell you 8 instead of 12. They charge the same money as a year ago.
Yeah, I don't really know of any cars that have gotten smaller. Usually what happens is they get bigger and then the OEM will introduce another car underneath it. Like the Audi A3 is the size of the B5 A4.
Yeah.
Or the BMW 2 Series is the size of the E46 3 Series. And you could do that all across the market, but they don't usually shrink that car, because if you ask any owner what they want about their next car, they always say more space because they're stupid, and so they give them that.
Right.
Marty McFly says, what are some of your most memorable driving locations or routes?
He says Tail of the Dragon, but it's the roads around it. We've talked about this.
Yeah, Cherahola Skyway is better than Tail of the Dragon, and the 28 over there is better than Tail of the Dragon. I mean, there was some roads in West Virginia that were just incredible. There's roads up in Washington, south of Seattle. What's that? Whatever it's called.
The one that goes around Shasta?
Up over the giant mountain. There's PCH north of San Francisco, which is, I think, better than the Big Sur.
Oh, and all the roads up near, is it Fort Bragg? Like Geyserville and west of that.
Yeah.
Basically, go to Napa and then go left towards the ocean.
Right.
And the roads are awesome.
Yeah. Glacier National Park roads.
The cool, I think, route, I drove from Alaska to near Chicago. Like, I drove across that in 4 days for a tangent job. That was the most beautiful drive I've ever been on. Mm-hmm. Holy crap. Oops.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, wait a minute. Jeff says, I'm looking to get into an S2000 from a 2016 BRZ. It has lots of... Oh, the
pots.
BRZ has lots of mods. Should I sell? It has a turbo, it has a suspension, etc. But I want an S2000. Never got the fizz from the BRZ. I live in the California Bay Area. I'm 6'1" with long legs and a short torso and fit without issue. He says I fit in the BRZ without issue. I would sit in an S2000 because this non-adjustable steering wheel makes that car a no-go for me.
Yeah, and short torso, isn't that like Isn't it a bit of a reach to it? It's almost like Italian sports car
You
ergonomics.
may or may not fit in that car. So you need to go find an S2000 and sit in it before you do that, because that will be the defining factor. S2000s are lovely. Mm-hmm. I mean, they're 20 fucking years old, but they're lovely if you fit.
I think the engine... The question I would Jeff, you should ask yourself is, what was missing from the BRZ fizz-wise? I mean, the engines in those are uninspired and meh, and they sound like wah.
Dude, if he's got a fucking turbo on his BRZ and is missing the fizz,
right? So what is it?
An S2000 is going to give him a stock S2000?
You got to rev the shit out of it. I don't know.
The thing's going to be slow compared to a BRZ.
It will feel slow.
I'd get a fucking Corvette or something.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly,
you should get a C. You
should get a C7 Vet or something,
or a C7 Z06.
Yeah, or a Viper.
Grand Sport.
Yeah, I mean, or something. It's got to be something fast. S2000s are lovely, but they're not fast.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a nice car. I understand why people buy them, but like, if you put a turbo on your BRZ and you don't like it, I don't think an S2000 is going to do it for you, bro. I'd get a fucking Porsche at that point. I'd get a Boxster. Probably fit better in a Boxster than he would in a S2000.
That's true.
Last question. Christian's girlfriend wants a Ferrari California at $70,000 to $78,000. Do you feel like this is the floor price? She drives 1,000 to 3,000 miles a year. Can't see it depreciating a ton. So, no points against your girlfriend, but these are bad cars. Like, not even by Ferrari standards, like by the standard of cars. Like, they're not good cars. They're pretty clunky, and the top mechanism is not good. And what is this? Doing a 15-minute Ferrari.
So I was in. So it's funny he asked about California, because I went to Hollywood last night for dinner with some nice folks from Subaru and Lynn Woodward, and I'm right in front of the Man Chinese Theater, or Dolby Theater. I see these 3 Ferrari Californias with signs that just say "Ride like a star," $89, and I go, is that what you pay $90 to sit in a Ferrari and get driven around on Hollywood, like in traffic? And I believe
is that what it is?
That's what that is. A 15-minute Ferrari experience. You ever wanted to ride in a Ferrari through Hollywood?
Are you riding or driving?
Feel like a celebrity. Enjoy the company of a trained co-pilot.
Okay, so you got a coach.
I think you drive for 15 minutes while you're supervised.
Wow.
And it's just funny that it was all Ferrari Californias, which, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No.
Funny.
That's the business model. That's hilarious.
Because they're not great. Like, I drove the Portofino, which was much more improved in terms of handling, aesthetics, way better.
Power,
way better. The Ferrari California, Just like it
Dude,
looks bad.
It doesn't
breaks.
drive well. It's not that fast. Like they cost as much as any other Ferrari to maintain. I remember we had to do brakes on one. They're all ceramics on those cars. We had to do brakes on one of the rental car company. It was $40,000.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, because this was back before when ceramics were rare.
No, that's still what they cost from Ferrari. $40,000. That's what a brake job costs out of California.
You should buy a 355 GTB and rebuild the fucking engine and save 10 grand.
Yeah. I mean,
Whoa.
I'm gonna answer his question.
Okay.
Is 70 to 75,000 the floor for one of those? No, but it's probably not that much lower. Like, it's a modern Ferrari. It will always have some kind of value.
Yeah.
But like,
Rental car.
as a rental car. But like, depreciation ain't it. It's the maintenance is a ton, and then they don't drive very well on top of that. But if it's your girlfriend and she doesn't care, she just wants to be seen in a Ferrari or drive any Ferrari, doesn't care how it drives, all right, fine. But like, I still wouldn't. I wouldn't buy that at that price.
How much is a 430 Spider automatic right now? Less, you think?
Probably
Same,
100.
Because we had that Gotham car, and that thing got the shit kicked out of it.
It was pretty tough.
And didn't need like any maintenance.
Yeah, it was
that was
pretty
amazing.
tough.
It's pretty tough.
Yeah,
and it looks like a Ferrari, sounds like a Ferrari.
Yeah, there's a lot of things I'd rather have for that money than a Ferrari California. But
Is there anything you can think of that has the brand cachet for that much money?
no, Ferrari, I mean, Gallardo.
Gallardo Spider.
Yeah, but that's probably 90.
Yeah, more reliable.
Yeah.
Slightly. Drives
Audi
better.
engine, drives better.
Yeah.
I'd rather have a Gallardo, for sure. Or an R, I mean, if you can deal with it being an Audi, like an R8.
How much would it cost to fix the top on a California?
God help you.
Yeah.
God help you.
I think Christian, just she need to be ready for the maintenance costs.
Yeah.
Like, look up what that stuff costs.
Yeah, get her a fucking SL and put a horse on it.
That's a better way. Yeah, get an SL. Yeah, that's a great car.
Yeah, SLs are really nice.
Yeah.
All right, that's our show. We're at Pebble Beach this week. By the time you're listening to this, we're up there hamming it up in our fancy Pebble Beach dress. I just got offered Thursday after the tour a demo flight on a Honda Jet.
Oh, cool!
So that's pretty fun.
A little Honda Jet.
I'm asking, every time I get one of these invites, I'm asking Hannah, like, hey, do you want to do this? Do you want to do this? And the two we got yesterday are fly on a Honda Jet, which we're gonna do, and get a private tour of Queen Elizabeth's car collection. Hannah's like, this is the most absurd collection of shit. And I'm like, the 1% must be entertained. We must entertain the billionaires.
How many cars did she have? 3?
Queen Elizabeth?
Yeah.
A bunch.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she was into cars.
Oh, okay.
Land
I didn't know that.
Rovers,
All right.
Bentleys, stuff like that. She liked to drive herself.
Like on an estate, you just drive around?
Yeah, she liked to
Tootle.
drive her Land Rovers around. She was known for driving herself places. Yeah.
All right.
She has some
That's
Jags
pretty-
and shit.
that's wild.
Yeah. So I don't know what size Honda Jet. I think there are a couple different sizes, but I got a flight on a Honda Jet.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm kind of stoked to try that one. So by next time we see you, we'll have gone to Pebble Beach, and we'll see you next week. And thank you to our patrons for such good questions, and check the rest of you later.